You already know what it is!
Ladies and gentlemen, report to the dance floor. Report to the dance floor.
5 years. 5 years of doing this whole reviewing thing. Gotta say, feels nice to be here. In terms of surprises for you guys, let's just say, you're gonna see some surprises. But before we get into any of that, we had to kick things off with the first movie. 213. I don't know, let's get into it. We start off with an admittedly actually really creepy sort of found footage-esque shot of just someone's feet dangling in the corner, which immediately cuts to an overly gratuitous torture scene where, well, the torture happens.
Hey, good to see you back. You look good. Thanks, man. So do you.
This is Russell, our protagonist, a bad boy cop who doesn't play by the rules. He likes idly chit-chatting with his co-workers, reminiscing about his tortured past, and is currently being stalked by Google Maps. Fun fact, I didn't know his name was Russell for the first 2 times I watched this movie because they bring it up once at the beginning, and never again. Probably should have done something about that.
Well, that's just about as wrong as it gets. You okay? Golden.
Russell is investigating a crime scene where the killer left the victim hanging from the ceiling and wearing a mask, presumably so the police would think he'd killed Spider-Man.
Whoa! Didn't try too hard to hide it.
I don't think hiding it was the point.
Check under the nails, even a trace of foreign DNA, and I want it, okay?
They find body parts buried in the backyard outside, and everything seems to be proceeding normally until Russell's ex-girlfriend shows up and makes it weird.
I didn't realize you were
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
be...
here.
Yes, you are. I got your card.
Good.
Not much considering, don't you think?
Yeah, well, you're the one who blew me off, Russell.
I mean, geez, we were looking at dismembered limbs. Why'd you have to make it so awkward?
Elvis. Priscilla's home.
Why do you have that? So in case you thought earlier I was joking about how stereotypical Russell was of a deadbeat cop, he goes home, listens to old records, gets drunk alone, and then looks at old cases he failed to solve.
Sweetest thing, it make me sing. Oh, but I may as well try and catch the wind.
The next day, everyone's in a meeting room analyzing the evidence from the day prior. They realize that this case bears a striking resemblance to a case from over a year ago and try to determine whether or not this could be the work of a serial killer.
Are we calling this a serial? It's the same MO as the other one.
Russell, what do you think?
This guy has no prior sex offenses. He's impotent. That's what I think. It's not a sex crime.
Then what is it?
I don't know.
Is it a serial?
I don't know.
All right, everybody, let's get to it.
Why do you need me?
Well, even though you are a self-absorbed ass, you have been known to be a decent profiler, and I would like you there as a sounding board.
Decent, you say? Maybe a little later I can suck your cock.
What?
Maybe a little later I can suck your cock.
That's not a thing you should say. I mean, in terms of weird lines you could have said there, that's right up there with...
Okay, you pulling my dick, right?
Hey, John.
Hi. I'm not interrupting, am I?
No. No.
Can I talk to you alone for a second, please?
Wife meets up with a former client whose wife was murdered by the serial killer he's hunting. But it turns out this client's wife just sent him an email. I wonder where I've heard that setup before.
How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Well,
You told me my wife was dead. Well,
I understand, John, but based on what we found and it's a reasonable assumption.
I thought you weren't supposed to assume, though. I thought that's the way police officers work, was that they didn't assume things, and you're not supposed to assume anything.
Yes, of course, but I'm just trying to tell you that based on
What if she's alive?
Have you considered maybe that someone got into your wife's email address? You didn't think that? You just went straight to she's alive again? So the client manages to convince Russell to reopen the case and maybe look over some of the old evidence he has again.
You motherfucker, you.
Wow! You've had this footage for over a year and you're just noticing this now? You're a bad cop!
Hey, what'd you do?
It's okay. We'll take care of it. Right in the rug.
See, the videotape that the killer left, there's a glitch on it. I think the guy shut the camera off. That's the glitch. He lifted this carpet. He did this.
Man, thank God this room was never cleaned or examined too thoroughly, or the blood was smudged, because otherwise this would have been a complete dead end. The moon is close, but now it's far away! So Russell pulls the entire works of Shakespeare from the library in the assumption that that will help him solve the case, and does a funny little dance in front of the papers while the killer stalks a new victim. Russell, you dummy, you don't fall asleep on the clues. That's not what clues are for. So the client, John, gets another spoopy email from his presumably dead wife, and Russell asks to meet up with him in the park.
Other than being an obsessive compulsive alcoholic, I'm okay.
I don't know about that alcohol thing. You might want to get some treatment for that.
John, there was a murder several days ago, and the crime scene was very similar to your wife's.
What does that mean?
It's very possible that the perpetrator of both crimes is the same guy.
It's gonna be okay.
So interspersed throughout the film, we occasionally get these flashbacky segments depicting a little kid doing creepy and spooky things. Whose flashbacks are these? The killer's? Russell's? Or the viewer themselves? What the fuck was that noise? Russell stands bare-ass naked in his living room while the killer gets another victim. And then the killer is naked. What is the significance of this, you may ask? I don't know, movies are bad, man. Russell goes to see his therapist.
How is your sex life?
I've heard of that. Wouldn't mind trying it. Match?
While the scene is mostly kinda dull, it does offer us a few hints at the tragic backstory Russell's going to explain to us later in the movie.
You want to talk about the latest victim, the masks? See, because I notice every time we talk about them, you get very agitated.
What is it that bothers you so much?
It's happened again.
In what are being termed the mass murders, we have yet another victim now. That's 2 murders now. And we're getting unconfirmed reports that these 2 may be linked to another murder more than a year and a half ago.
Russell goes to investigate one of the murders, the last one we saw actually, but oh no, it looks like the media has caught on to the fact that this might be a serial killer, which is really going to put the pressure on him. It's actually not going to change that much.
This guy doesn't get his thrill from the kill.
I don't think death was the point. A lot of people don't appreciate knickknacks. I, for one, am a knickknack appreciator. Give your dog a bone. Amanda.
Sex life.
Back with his therapist, Russell finally starts to open up about a traumatic experience with his former girlfriend.
I tried to reach her on her cell, but I couldn't get her. I saw her car parked. Passenger door was open, so I pulled behind her.
So Amanda saved you. What about the mask bothers you?
I've been pouring through this Shakespeare play as you like it. Listen to this. Thus men may grow wiser every day. It is the first time that ever I heard breaking of ribs was sport for ladies.
First victim.
Yeah.
The gang catches on to the fact that the killer seems to be killing people in accordance with certain murders in Shakespeare plays, and you know what? I think that's actually a kind of cool idea. Shame the rest of the movie can't really do that justice, huh? Russell is sad and smoking and drinking alone, and then the only female character in the plot comes over with Chinese food so they can talk, and Russell makes a funny gay joke and we all do a big laugh.
I'm having gay thoughts about my shrink.
And for someone who insists so much on everyone else's truth and honesty, you do a damn fine job of avoiding your own.
Look, I'm told I have to come here. So I come here. And you just, it's up to you. Match?
No, I don't have a match. Would you like some more coffee?
Rather have a match.
No, I think what you need is some more coffee.
Why did you break your cup, Russell?
Look at the cup, Russell. Focus your eyes on that cup. Look at one piece of the cup, because if you look long enough, that cup will form back together. So lock your eyes on one piece.
Something funky going on with this therapist guy, huh? So under hypnosis, Russell finally reveals the tragic backstory of how when he was a young boy, his mother was horribly disfigured in a car accident and that traumatized him. And I can't think of a way to make this funny, so here's a picture of a cat.
She died.
How did she die?
You did it, movie! You finally provoked an emotional reaction out of me. Now I am sad.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players.
The killer sends a voicemail to John with another Shakespeare quote and then is a cryptic asshole for the rest of the message.
Guilt is an emotion, and emotions aren't possible without feelings, so that's a good thing.
Makes sense. I did not know that. I also had other emotions. Well, my friend.
Well, guilt is like love and hate. The opposite of love is indifference.
Actually, scientifically speaking, the opposite of love is black licorice. So as the two begin to patch things up together, they do what any two people who are talking about possibly being murdered by a serial killer do. They fuck.
What did you do to me?
It's a form of hypnosis that works when conventional forms won't.
I did a Sigmund Freud on you, and don't worry, it's all your mom's fault.
Anyway, this guy comes in, I don't know, once, twice a month. Don't do nothing, just sits down at the end of the bar.
So the killer has struck again, this time at a sex club, and oh my god, it's Actor from movies. What is it with these films and getting like really obscure B-grade actors to come into these things?
Whatever. Look at this shit. Punctual and fucked up.
What?
Well, he's punctual. You know, time. I mean, not 2:30, not 2:20, 2:15. It's always the same time, 2:13.
Woo! He did it! He said the thing! Come on, everybody! Let's celebrate with my $3 Yu Yu Hakusho DVD!
Holy shit.
The crew go to investigate yet another murder, and this time the murder is hung upside down like the Predator and has a fun bag full of neon demon surprise. So after connecting a few more dots together, Russell calls up Captain Exposition to tell us all about the killer and his tragic backstory.
Folks around here still talk about that one.
We were regulars at the Pullman place.
The calls always came in from the kid. Mr. Pullman, they beat her up pretty regular, did some fucked up shit to her, cutting her. February 13th, 1958, she chopped him up in the bathtub, bagged him, buried him in the basement. You know, every real estate person in this town tried to sell that house. Never could.
I think I could sell that house.
Carter. Now, that was the saddest part. We found him chained up in the basement. From the scars, it looked like a regular occurrence.
What happened to him?
State didn't know what to do. The aunt didn't want him, so they put him in an orphanage. Didn't hear from him after that. Besides the disturbance calls, he was a quiet kid.
We, probably should have put those pieces together earlier, huh? While Russell and the SWAT team are investigating the house, something spooky is stalking Amanda in her own house. Also, props to the makeup effect on that person hanging from the ceiling. That actually looks kinda creepy. Good job, whoever you are.
That's Rebecca Tyler.
We're gonna need the EMTs in here right away.
Guys, we got something up here.
God damn it, what now? What is it? What? Jacobs. See that she's taken care of, okay?
Hi, this is Detective Amanda Richardson. Leave your information and I'll call you back.
Amanda, listen to me. Get out of your house. Drop whatever you're doing and leave.
Shout out to this section of the movie for having the only suspension and spooks in the entire film.
Huh. Radio. What's going on with that radio?
Russell rushes in at the exact right moment to save the day. He does some Shakespeare at the killer.
'Tis fools such as you that makes the world full of ill-favored children.
And then does a cool police brutality.
A little confused. I don't know what's going on here. Nobody's talking to me. Can you tell me something?
What? You're telling me the killer was actually the victim? Who is actually the only character in the entire story who had any connection to the killings? What a shocker! So we did it. The killer's caught. All we have to do left is interrogate him and then the movie's over. Right? Fuck you, there's still 20 minutes left. Oh, and don't worry, that entire 20 minutes is spent in this interrogation room. So, glad the filmmakers got their money's worth.
John, she told us that you did.
What are you saying? Russell, that's insane. That's totally insane. You know me. You know that there's no possible way I could ever have done anything like that to her.
Okay, let's try something else.
So John claims he could have never done any of these killings, but don't worry, it turns out he has a crazy switch that turns on if you hit the right conditions at the right time.
Fucking cunt deserved to die! And I would have fucking killed him if John didn't stop me! Fucking whore!
As we delve more into John's backstory, we find out that he was the one who gave Russell's mom the creepy mask, and hang on, wait a minute. Are you seriously trying to tell me that this man is older by a decade than this man? Because if so, then I'm calling bullshit.
What are you doing?
I need you to clean these walls. Make sure they're perfect. You understand me? Clean them!
Oh, scary. Couldn't you have made it look more like a woman?
Well, you could say that these people are bad workers for laughing at a child, but on the other hand, he did make a pretty bad Halloween mask, and that right there is classic comedy.
I knew this day would come. But you're finally going to appreciate what you have. Ready?
When I was 10, my mother committed suicide. 2 years later, my father died from alcoholism, drinking from guilt, and I dealt with every bit of it by the age of 12. Do you honestly think that there's anything you can do that's going to scare me?
The relevance of the number 213 has yet to be explained to the audience, and this means nothing to me, and it never will.
And learn this of me. To have is to have. For it is a figure in rhetoric that drink being poured out of a cup into a glass, by filling the one doth empty the other. Therefore you, clown, abandon the society of this female. I kill thee. I will deal in poison with thee. I will kill thee 150 ways.
What? Huh? Whom stiff? Who did? What?
Appreciate me now. Therefore tremble and depart. Bid me farewell. You are worthless to me.
So the killer is dead, Amanda has a funeral, and Russell, well, he's real sad about that. Also, he learns to quit smoking in the end. And that was 213. And you know what? I will give it credit. This is easily the most well-constructed, best produced, professional looking, and well-written film I've seen so far on this disc. With the notable exception of Mortuary, given that it was helmed by an actually experienced director and funded by a big-name studio. Okay, thanks for this correction, bye. Unfortunately, that also means it's the most boring one I've seen. As these films keep getting better and better, we start to hit some sort of weird, uncanny valley of film quality, where they're not bad enough to laugh at, but they're nowhere near good enough to be legitimately entertaining. So we're stuck in this weird, bizarre film dead zone, where technically, yes, it is the best film of the bunch on a production and technical level, but this is easily my least favorite of the whole bunch. I know I said that about The Fear Chamber, and I don't want to be one of those guys that always says, this is the worst movie I've ever seen for every single review, but this is easily the worst movie on this disc so far. Shirt change? What shirt change? I never change shirts in reviews. Never do it. Ever. Well, that'll do it for this review. But, maybe you'll see me again pretty soon. Maybe in an OG original location. I'm just saying. Well, maybe see you next time. Maybe see you next time in a special new location. Yeah, not new location. It's no look. I'm going back home.
Time's never gonna run out. I'm never gonna grow up. You're always gonna be there. We're never gonna get scared. We're gonna face it. Take this world in our hands, stand and embrace it. At least that's what we said. What do